Greetings, fellow humans. It's Suburban Herb here, and welcome back. Today we got something a little bit different, and it's a little bit exciting. Right here we have a box. So you know what we do with boxes? We unbox them. Let's do it. What could be inside, pray tell? It is getting near Christmas. Could be a Christmas gift. Oh. I just moved my camera here. You're still good. Voila. Woohoo! We're almost there. Here we go. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we have here. Alright, whatever it is, it's packed tightly. Ooh la la. I see some diodes. What are we looking at here? Come here, baby. Let's see. I see lots and lots of diodes. That piece of machinery. Let's see. Put that down. And we'll just leave that there for a second. See what else is in the box. Happy so far. And user instructions, the Pro Series. What you're looking at here is the PS2500 from Viparspectar. And also we have some hangers and some ratchet hangers. Looks like it's the good ones. All metal inside, beautiful. All right, that's it. Now let's get to the good stuff. I might just keep that there. Now let's take a look. Viparspectar 2500. Let's see. Ooh, baby. Shiny. It's pretty. Definitely looks like the diodes are covered. I'll go over the features, but definitely looks like they're covered with some kind of water resistance. And yeah, it's definitely a solid unit. Let's take a look at the back. One driver. And clearly the entire back is a heatsink. Looks like about a 6-foot power cord. And on the end, of course, we have a dimmer switch, really conveniently located. So here's what you get in the box. The hangers specifically for the light. They look nice. That's a real metal carabiner there. And ratchet hangers. And again, they're the good ones. I can see they're metal inside. Perfect. And the user manual for the formerly incorrectly named PS2500. This is the Viparspectar P2500. Looking at the specs quickly, or in our little pamphlet here, safety information, probably the same as every other light. We'll look at that later if need be. So we're looking at the model P2500, which is a 250 watt unit, which is kind of interesting and sort of perfect for me to look at or to use and to review, because both of my other lights that I have currently fall in that same range. So effectively, this is a competitor or an equivalent to the lights I have now, both of them. So it'll be quite interesting for me to be able to compare the results of this light with the other ones, because they basically fall in the exact same category, which is beautiful and interesting. So the rest of this stuff is, interesting to some. There's 750 SMD LEDs. The driver, their single driver, is a SOSEN, I believe, SOSEN, which I believe is a name of some sort. But really, that doesn't mean a lot to me. It didn't mean a lot to me when I bought my first set of lights, and they've performed very well for me. So I'm not going to put a lot of weight on that. I mean, with a brand name comes a history, and there's some comfort in that, and possibly and probably a good service program set up. But that doesn't mean that someone that doesn't have the same amount of history or brand name can't actually provide those same things. They just might not have the history or the time period to have built that reputation. I kind of took a chance on the lights that I purchased my first time around, in that there weren't a lot of people using them. At least they weren't uploading their results. And aside from that, there weren't a lot of really reviews. And it wasn't until I saw one from the gentleman named Shane at MyGrow, who you may or may not be familiar with, but as far as rating lights, he's definitely one of the guys that you can trust, or I trust, I should say. You should probably too, but that's up to you. So on that site, you'll see both the lights I formerly held and these with really, really good ratings. And it was in fact a video from him that was entitled Game Changer, that effectively just described the change from its former life as a blurple producer to a new form of, I guess, full spectrum LEDs. So that company did it. This company is doing it as well, and this is a very similar light, as I said, in the same category as the ones that I've had. So I'm really excited to give this guy a try. Back to the book. It's pretty standard. Honestly, what I was trying to say is, this is all interesting, but in the end, it's really what you see in the tent, but also what it can do, like in a power map, for example. So that's not something that I do here. I don't have that equipment, so I rely on other people. And that's part of the reasons why I agreed to test run this model. Specifically, similar to the last time, I saw an excellent review that just painted it as an exceptional value. You can check it out yourself. It's not this model specifically, but it is from a model from Viparspectar. I believe it's the P1000. This is the P2500. But that's enough for me. These guys fall at the top of Dr. Coco's list of LED lights that he's tried. And again, he and Shane from MyGrow are working together now. They have a database full of the lights that they tested. They have sort of interactive on their site where you can actually plug in your information and see what you should be seeing from your lights, etc. I trust what they're doing. I like the way they do it. The P1000 actually is the top of their list. So I believe their list is ranked based on value. And for me, that's kind of what it's all about. It's nice to have the Meanwell driver and all the fancy name stuff, but in the end, I just care that it works. So we'll see, I'm all for value. I'm a value kind of guy. Let's go back to the book, How to Hang. Hopefully I won't need those instructions, but one nice thing about this that my last lights did not have, although full disclosure, their new models do, is a beautifully accessible dimmer knob. Dimmer knob. Beautiful. Nice and solid. It's just really nice, like smooth and easy. My other lights actually had the ability to dim, but you had to remove the driver in some cases. Not ideal. This is beautiful. This is really nice. I kind of like what they've done here just because I glanced at this using suggestions. It's quite simple, but beyond giving you the height and at what point in what stage in their life, they also recommend at what brightness it should be, which is really helpful for guys like me who don't have a, what do you call those things? A light meter, a power meter, I guess. So those power maps are essential for us, especially ones you can trust from guys you can trust. Check out Dr. Coco and Shane from My Grow. And that's the end of the booklet. Warranty terms. It appears I'll look deeper, but they provide a 3-year warranty, just like the other companies of lights that I've bought. That's it for the unboxing, and that's it for now. Blitz! Blitz! Okay, that's it. GoPro, stop recording. This is the Viparspectar P2500. Why is it here, you may ask? I'll answer. I had been in talks with a few companies who had contacted me about trying their lights. And they were small companies, you know, the big boys aren't talking to me, you know what I mean? But, you know, I was talking to a few companies, and basically what I was trying to figure out was if they had a good product, could offer at a good price, and could provide good service after the fact. So that's basically what I was trying to extract and see what I could do for my viewers. Now, full disclosure, I was in a contest to win a great big fancy light, and I would have loved to win that great big fancy light. But after getting over the disappointment of not winning that great big fancy light, I did think, you know, if I had that great big fancy light, no one could really relate to my grows, because most people can't afford that great big fancy light. I can't. That's why I wanted to win it. However, I can afford a light like this. As a matter of fact, I've bought a couple lights like this in the 250 watt range, because personally, me, what I would do, with the options that I have, like sort of the budget that I would look at, etc., I like the idea of having 2 lights as opposed to just one for my 4x4 space. And that's what I've done in both cases. In both my tents, I have 2 different models of lights, but in each case I have 2 lights for the 4x4 space. And those 2 lights are, say, between 200 and 300 watts ish, just like this one, 250 watts. So for me, I would choose 2 of these to go into my 4x4 space, and for me, I think that's quite ideal, unless you're buying one of those big bad boy lights which will cover the entire space and do it well. But these also do it well. So let's talk about these guys. This is Viparspectar. I know about them. I heard about them. As a matter of fact, like, it's only been a little over a year ago when I bought my first set of lights, and at that time, you know, these guys were making blurples, or they were still selling blurples, and so were other companies. But at that time, they had started coming out with the full spectrum lights, and when I bought my last set of lights, there wasn't a whole lot, there wasn't a ton, there wasn't a great deal of people filming their grows with those particular lights. So I was basically going on some reviews and just kind of winging it. So I ended up, I feel like, making a pretty great choice. But, you know, seeing a lot of the lights that are available now, seems like there are a bunch of good choices. Like, I'm suspecting that there are a good number of lights in a good price range that can all do the job. Now let's look at this beast. So this is the Pro Series, they call it. Now they actually have a newer series, which is called the XS series, I believe. And they look very similarly shaped, but they're kind of silver-ish. And originally I thought they kind of looked cooler, but man, this actually looks better in person than it does in the pictures. And it looks pretty good in the pictures, but it looks kind of cool. This heat sink, just like a gunmetal gray kind of thing. Looks kind of slick. It's very solid, this thing. It's a solid piece of metal. One driver, as you can see, it's a Sozen driver, which I didn't even look into it or anything. I know I've seen it mentioned before, and I believe I got the impression that it was a brand name. It's not Meanwell, but it was still a brand name. But, you know, I've kind of said it before, I don't really care. In the end, I just care if it grows plants. Now, you know, I won't say it again, but, you know, there's value in brand names, but sometimes not as much value as they want. So here we go. Let's look at this. We've got a driver, and this nifty little feature, which a lot of the lights are having now, but these guys kind of had it before others maybe did on all of their lights, is this nifty little dimmer knob. And this one here goes from 5% to 100%. That's 5. Oh mama, can you see how bright it gets? That's 100%. So presumably that's right around 250 watts, and then 5% would be, who knows, 15 watts or something. Very slick, nice solid knob. Like, that just feels slick. Woo, beautiful. So let's take a look at the underside. I don't have a power meter or even a watt meter to do any kind of measurements or tests. That's not really what my function will be, or what I can provide, really. What I thought I can provide, did I ever finish my story about the big bad lights? What I was trying to say is, for me, like with the big bad light, most people can't afford them. And with this particular light, it's really right in the range of my other two lights. It's the same kind of light, it's in the same wattage range. You know, similar power type values ish, presumably, and so very similar lights. So slight feature differences perhaps, but overall kind of definitely a competitor to the lights that I've grown with. So I'm kind of in a perfect position to take two of these babies, stick them in the 4x4 or my 6x4, and grow and compare it to my previous sets of lights. Easy peasy. There's another story I didn't finish, which I didn't get to. The newer version is the XS series. Again, this is the Pro Series. The XS series has Meanwell drivers, has Samsung diodes, so it's got all the fancy stuff. You know, so originally they had asked me if I wanted to review or test or run or whatever their XS model, and I looked at their specs and whatnot, and I was slightly familiar with the company, so asked a few questions about whether, you know, viewers would get a discount, etc., and we were good to go. However, they came back and said, we've sold out of our XS models. Would you like one of our P models? And I looked and I thought, oh, that's the older model. I thought, that's kind of unfortunate a bit, until I checked out some reviews. And my go-to review guru, man, that would have been slick if I could have got it out my mouth. My go-to review guru, Dr. MJ Coco, or Shane from My Grow, and they have this list. They just came out of wrist, I think it's in the last 6 months, of all their lights that they've reviewed and they currently have in their database. And the P1000, the little sister, little brother to this model, is their #1 light by value in their entire list over all the lights. So for me, that shows pretty good pedigree for the whole entire line, including this one. So that said, why I agreed to use an older model is it's going to be cheaper. So if I can use this and show that I can grow big beautiful plants with this bad boy, you know, with you know, a slightly older model, there's going to be some people out there who are going to appreciate that. Because me, let me tell you, let's see, here's an example. I had to buy camera and recording equipment or microphones and stuff for just to make my little videos. Here's what I do. I look for the best
model from 2 years ago, basically. That's kind of the way I roll. So you get the really well-reviewed dude from 2 years ago. I don't need the newest stuff. I'm not the the top dog here. I'm just a little dude. So for me, if it works at a good value is as good as anything. And I have one set of lights that are 300 watts, another set of lights that are 230, possibly lower. More on that later. But that's to say that these lights are in between those two power settings, so they're all kind of in the same mix. But I just grew, a perfectly reasonable, fairly impressive for me crop with the 230 watters. So I mean, how much do you actually need is what I'm trying to get at. Anyway, I like the looks of this baby, and like always, I won't know, or I've really got nothing to say other than looking at the specs and features. I have nothing to say until a few months down the road when I've grown a few plants under it. Like, what really can I say? It's fun to look at the power maps, and I certainly do look at the power maps and give them a lot of weight when they are done in a third party review type scenario. And that's not to claim that anyone's doing anything shifty. It's just that in the past, it seems like the power maps that have been provided with these lights weren't ideal. They weren't useful. One final comment: what I really love about what Dr. MJ Coco and Shane are doing, and maybe more people do this, but instead of giving me a power map at 12 inches, 18 inches, 24 inches, what are those random heights for? Who cares what it is at 12 inches, really? That's not helpful. What Shane and the boys do, or I don't know his name, but Dr. MJ, they actually set the height for where they're getting, like, basically 1,000 ppfd, like right where you'd want it to be. So right where you're gonna basically your optimum of value. So, and then they show what distance that is. Like, really, that's what matters in my opinion. Anyway, I just like the way they do that. They measure it. They measure it for your kind of ideal ppfd and get whatever height that is. It's regardless, but you need your just under 1,000 ppfd, and then they check, see what kind of numbers you're getting out at the sides, which seems like a really good way to do it. Maybe a lot of other guys do it that way, but the light companies themselves, they seem to just set just sort of an arbitrary height. It seems like 12, 18, 24, like it's right. And that's gonna be enough about lights. I like the look of this. It's gonna be really fun to grow. I'm hoping to get another one right beside it, and we'll grow it a full tent and see what kind of beauties we can grow with it. That's the Viparspectar P2500. We will talk to you soon. GoPro, stop recording.